Someone asked, what do you not use Emacs for? Because people use Emacs for many things, apparently. But, maybe Emacs is not the best suited for certain things. For example, I would not use Emacs to check my emails, probably. But who knows? Maybe I'd change my mind. Maybe I'll just go full in on Emacs as an operating system, have my browser and everything in it, and everything be in Emacs. But let's have a look into Emacs today. I want to look at the Emacs doc so I can actually use Emacs formally, because I need to use Emacs. Like I need an editor, and I was using Neovim, but then I wanted to switch to VS Code solely for debugging. But now someone told me, Kojo, just use Doom Emacs, because I was asking, like, VS Code is it's not cool and all, but like it works okay and all, but it doesn't have the best like Neovim keybind integrations, and there's some other funky things I don't like, and it's also pretty slow. And then someone said, use Emacs. And I was like, Emacs, isn't that just like Neovim? And he's like, no, it's like Neovim, but much more powerful. It's also not like Neovim. It's actually not like Neovim at all, really. But I have Doom Emacs, which uses Neovim keybinds, which are apparently better. So that's awesome. I am going to, it means like I can transition to that aspect of it more easily. But in terms of everything else, I have no idea what to do. Like, I've tried learning as I go, but like when you're so lost and like there's no, like the docs aren't, the docs exist and I haven't read them yet. So yeah, like there is a the getting started guide, but it only tells you so much. So I'm gonna read the official docs, and hopefully I can actually get to programming, because like I can't really do much programming if I don't have my tool set up, So also lighting is awesome. I don't know why it's so bright from here. Like it's just white, but yeah, we ball. So before I do that though, because we love getting distracted and going on detours, I'm going to read this post real quick, because I saw this on my feed. I was like, oh, good timing. Yeah, can I hide this and zoom in? Yeah. What do you not use Emacs for that Emacs is reasonably capable of doing? Because again, you can use Emacs for everything, or like at least a lot of things, but anyway, I switched fully to Linux about 2 years ago, and I got really into Emacs. The idea of, can I zoom in further? It's actually really small. Whatever. The idea of one big immersive environment where a dozen systems can interact with one another seamlessly really appealed to me. Yeah, the thing is, that's called an operating system. So, especially when you're on Linux, or at least with like Arch Linux, which is highly customizable, I wonder if you can kind of sidestep the need for a lot of Emacs stuff simply by integrating Emacs into your operating system. You could do the same with Neovim, of course, but Emacs has other things, apparently, that make it worth using over Neovim anyway, like org mode and stuff. So I also want to look into that. Because maybe it'll turn out that Neovim is actually better and suffices fine, and that Emacs doesn't offer any benefit if I am using an integrated operating system anyway. But yeah, we'll have a look at that. The goal was to do most of everything in either Emacs or Firefox. I'm not watching YouTube through some NewPipe, MPV, Emacs client abomination. I'm sorry. Yeah. And for the most part, I accomplished it. I use Emacs for note-taking, occasional amateur programming, engraving music. Really? Engraving? What does that mean? RSS2, okay. Typesetting documents with org mode and latex. Yep. And basically anything else involving manipulating plain text. Yeah. That's what I wanted it for, right? As like a way to edit text files. But not really anything else besides that. There were a few things that I really wanted to get done in Emacs, however, that I have just never been able to get working convincingly. I listed below a few of the things I tried, gave a shot, but ultimately decided to use something else for. So ebooks. Yeah, ebooks? I don't know. It's weird. I haven't found a really good ebook reader, which is kind of annoying. Or even like a PDF viewer, but maybe that'll change. Nov mode is kind of miserable to use. It works well for simple books, but it takes comparing its output to that of a proper e-reader application to see how limited it is. I was actually using Obsidian for ebooks and PDFs reading, but the downside is that I need to import it into my thing, so it's not ideal. But like the Obsidian one is actually pretty decent. It can't render most complex formatting. Image rendering is janky as hell. It's just really clunky for anything complex. I have a lot of academic articles and textbooks and such in EPUB format, and while I really wanted it to work with that org mode integration and whatnot, Nov just isn't up to the task. None of these are necessarily Nov's fault, or of course, it's just stuff that Emacs wasn't designed to do. Right, so like Emacs being pushed past its limits, right? Second, PDFs, yeah, same thing really. Again, it's more a limitation of Emacs. Yeah, almost like it's meant to be a text editor, who would have thought? General terminal stuff. Yeah, so I know that Emacs can emulate terminals, but like I never understood. If you have a terminal, again, like if I have an operating system that just has a terminal that opens like this, and it's like I can do whatever I want, why do I need a terminal emulator? Like, yeah, it keeps things in one application, but like do I need that? Like right now I can open Emacs, the client mode, and then like, ooh, I want a terminal, boom. Like just like that. Now ideally the terminal should open in the same directory. I need to get that working. I don't know why it doesn't work for me. But once that's set up, like there's literally no reason to really use a terminal emulator. I always have Emacs open in one desktop and a terminal window open in another. One of these days I'll get around to learning eShell or Xterm or whatnot, but I've just never really felt the need to run all that stuff through Emacs. I mean, for emulation, it's good if you want to like emulate different terminals for different operating systems, right? Like a Windows thing. But like if you're testing your applications anyway, you probably want to use a virtual machine, right? If I were a more hardcore programmer, maybe it'd be different, but I don't do much besides basic little scheme programs for fun. The only two applications I run regularly are BTOP and RMPC. Okay. Fourth, window management. I like Emacs's window management. I'll occasionally use multiple frames. I also like Sway's window management. The idea of letting Emacs control everything with something like EXWM kind of horrifies me, honestly. Okay. I'm curious what other things Emacs power users do. I'm curious what other things Emacs power users choose to not use Emacs for that Emacs is technically capable of doing. Email. Okay, so as I said, you can do email. This person is also setting it up. And plus, like with your email, fucking hell. I ate something bad because that smells. Email, like it's also a privacy thing, right? Like if I'm programming in Emacs, do I want my emails popping up while I'm programming? Especially like if I record on Emacs, that's not particularly great, is it? See what people say about that though. There's GNUs. This person likes Emacs email. Most of my personal email is rich HTML content, yeah. Because like, if you use these stuff, like, I feel like I assume that if you use Emacs for these things, you're going to mostly just get plain text rendering. You're not going to get like, the GUI that you want. Because like, for the record, I don't understand why people are so crazy about TUI and like terminal applications. Like the convenience of just doing this, like being able to like either search or click on something, like how is that not more convenient than having to use like a TUI, right? Or like for my email, like I can just click on emails and like do stuff like that. Like why would I limit it to a TUI interface? That can't really support images that well. Like images are a thing that we do, like we send often, that never made sense to me. I also don't get like why, like RSS feeds as well. Like, yeah, they're cool, but again, like I like how blogs have a style to them, and like aren't just plain text. And again, like with the images, I like being able to see the images. So I don't understand that. I don't play Doom, hilarious. GTD, task management, org mode is great, but it's incredibly flexible, structuring complex content instead of grammar, makes for poor synchronization between multiple devices. Interesting. Yeah, because like for org mode, like there is a competitor I have right now to org mode, which is Obsidian. So I wonder if that will replace it. Because like I feel like if not enough features get me to stick to Emacs, I'll probably just go back to Neovim. But this time actually configure it properly. Like right now with Neovim, it works, but Doom Emacs just comes with features that my Neovim doesn't, like an LSP, for instance. I haven't set up an LSP. I can do, of course, but I just haven't bothered to. Also, the Emacs debugger would probably be better because again with the GUI. But like with Neovim, there are plugins you can set up to make that possible. So I don't know. I tried to edit Anki cards in Emacs, but I eventually switched back to Anki built-in card editor because it works more naturally with pictures. Yeah, that is true. Anki is something I have not used on this computer yet, right? I don't have Anki, but I do have, I think, Mochi. Nope, never mind. That's on Windows as well. Yeah, flashcards. I want to focus up on Cantonese soon because next year I'm moving in with a flatmate who is from Hong Kong, so he speaks Cantonese, and I think it'd be great. Also, there are lots of Chinese students at my university, but also want to speak Cantonese, so it'd be a good way to learn both as well. Obviously, the languages are quite different, but like for those who know, but the reading is similar enough that is actually quite handy. Anyway, just putting that out there. Web browsing, yeah, it's just not going to happen. So yeah, so I do wonder, like, if you don't use these features, what are the benefits of Emacs over Neovim? And I think what happens is I see a lot of Emacs users don't even recommend you use Emacs. They kind of make it out that they use it simply because they have to, right? Like they don't really assert that, yeah, Emacs is better than Neovim. You should use Emacs. Like I've never actually seen that argument. I mean, I'm sure there's some people who would say it, but has my thing always been there? What's this do? Huh? Full screen mode? That's actually kind of cool. How do I exit full screen? Oh dear. To be fair, I don't need to exit. Actually, no, because I want to see my... Yeah, where's it gone? For some reason, it won't show me my thing. I'm going to assume it's F11. It is. But that's pretty cool for focusing. Like a focus mode kind of thing. Even cooler if it also hits your sidebar. But I can do Alt Control Z. Yeah, but that just collapses it. Is there a focus mode on WaterFox? WaterFox focus mode. F9. That's not what I want though. Because like I want a way that I can just focus on the thing without focusing on any of these tabs. Because like yeah, I could do F11, but then I still have this open, right? It's not terrible though, I guess. I mean, like how much space do you need? But it's just nice to get rid of distractions. Anyway, so let's have a look at the Emacs docs and see what I can get from this thing. Also, I want to make this video public real quick. I just finished looking at reflection real quick. Like really quick. I mean, 20 minutes, which is quick by my standards. Okay, right. Get started with Emacs. Ooh, before that, what's this stuff? There's the org manual, Magit, which I've also heard about, and LaTeX. Okay. So, I don't know. I guess I'll look at those separately. Yeah, I mean, the things are up here anyway. So, Emacs is the advanced, extensible, customizable, self-documenting editor. This manual describes how to edit with Emacs and some of the ways to customize it. Okay. Keep in mind, this is the Emacs docs and not the Doom Emacs docs. And I wonder how the docs even are for Doom Emacs. It's outdated. Awesome. Yeah, so there is the Doom/help, but like I've tried using it and I genuinely don't understand how the hell I'm meant to use it. Like, look at this. If I open Emacs, whoops, and then open Doom/ is it help or docs? I didn't catch that. Help. Yeah. If I open Doom/help, right? Or space HDH. Like, table of contents, right? Okay, so let's have a look at documentation. Press enter. Takes you down here, okay. And then let's have a look at, I don't know, let's look at getting started. Okay, well now it works. Before it wasn't working. Maybe it's because I was offline, but like literally those hyperlinks just weren't working. Okay then, so I've already installed it. Update and rollback, migrate, not doing any of that. Configure, right? Am I blind right now? Here's configure. Okay, that's annoying. Don't know how that happened. Yeah, so modules, packages, configuring Doom, trying your own modules, load order flags, Doom cookies, common mistakes. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to do with any of these things at the moment. So troubleshooting. Yeah, it's like I don't know if I need that. So I'm gonna go back. I'm getting used to the buffer keybinds at least. Let's have like the frequently asked questions. I feel like that'd be good as well. But what else is there? There's also community resources, tutorials and guides. So Doom Emacs tutorials, Doomcasts, crash course. Yeah, and org mode as well. So I think I'll have a look at those then. And there's the official Emacs manual for Emacs and Emacs Lisp. So I probably will still read the official one, but let's have a look at frequently asked questions first. Right, so like, will this actually expand now? Because again, before it didn't expand, which is really annoying. So what are these Unicode symbols that are missing? Is it because of the font I'm using? Let me open my config. Space FP. And I think we're looking for config.l. Right, so yeah, so here's a JetBrains mono font. Let me try with a different font. Let's go for JetBrains Nerd font, which I need to open up. So first I open my fonts, app, and for JetBrains Mono Nerd, yep. So for some reason it's typed really weirdly. It's JetBrains Mono is one word, then Nerd, and then font. I don't know what the prop is for. Yeah, JetBrains Mono Nerd font. So let's take that. We move the space for some reason, otherwise it's different there, and enter. Okay, and then I do need to reload Doom as well, but let's close this buffer, and then let's Doom/reload. Okay, and I'll just close it, I guess, because I didn't seem to update the font. I don't know how to fix that. HDH, sorry. Let's go back down to FAQ. And I still don't have the symbols, yeah. So I don't understand why these aren't rendering. I'll see if I can copy them, maybe. Well, no, it's here. Yeah, so this worked with the pin. But these don't work for some reason in the header, which is weird, but whatever. Right, so general. So how do I open this? Like, it says end of line. So like, how do I expand it? Here? Here? Like, I'm literally at the end of the line and I can't seem to expand it. Or here maybe? Like, there's no information on how to expand these. So like, I literally don't know how to work this. I can't click on it. Like, I mean, I know there's text content because like when I view this as a normal text file, it actually shows me it. But for some reason here, I just don't see it. So I have to go into edit mode. Like, that works. But like, why do I need to go into edit mode to do that? I don't understand. These were sections of, I'm guessing it's like an org mode thing. It's just a read only, but. So these were sections of our user manual. Answer this question. Why Emacs, why not Emacs, why Doom, why not Doom? Yeah, so I did vaguely read this. Why Emacs? I can't remember if there's actually an answer. Look, can I find entry with ID? So like, it's a hyperlink, but it's dead. So I can't read it. So like, the Doom Emacs docs leave a lot to be desired. I'm guessing it's still in development, but like, how old is Doom Emacs? You know? I mean, it's not Wikipedia, for Christ's sake. Stable release, yeah, literally yesterday. When did it start? Like, is it like, did it literally start like last year or what? There's this, but have a look at the repos. Core. Like, this was its oldest commit here is 10 months ago, 4 years ago on this one. So it's at least 4 years old. So yeah, I don't know. Like, are the docs particularly new? Is that what's going on? And so let's keep reading. Yeah, I don't know like if these are particularly useful FAQ anyway though. Hey, so whatever. Let's go back and have a look at these though. These resources should be good. So we've got these Doom Emacs tutorials on YouTube, which is the guy I've watched before. I did look at this video already. I don't know how useful it was though. Like it was very much like just installing Doom Emacs and then getting like some plugins enabled through the init, but nothing really else. So I don't really like. It's only 4 videos. Also, these are 6 years old, so clearly it has been around for a while.
So those of you that have been following the channel know that a couple of months ago I switched from Vim to Emacs, and I switched to the vanilla Emacs, GNU Emacs, with the default Emacs key bindings, and I stuck refresh. This refreshes
so this is all installed.
Your config file. And
no, this didn't. So this is actually.
I'm going to open up a terminal. The Vim key binding, basically into your home directory.
That's cloning it.
This command.
Yeah, so this is installation.
Is the key that you're going to use for many of your key bash RC here inside Doom Emacs. Now by default, Doom Emacs again. So once again, the commented line.
Maybe I didn't watch this video actually. I think he has new videos. The malware incident. Bro, like, it gets malware once and it's like, let's leave. But I mean, like, it's going to happen, you know? Like, I feel like Linux, as it gets more popular, is going to have a really big wake-up call with malware, because right now, things are not that secure, from my understanding. Okay, so the playlist that was linked was not the best. Well, it didn't have all the videos that I needed. So let's have a look at this then. The Church of Emacs. I guess that one was specifically, well, no, because there's also Doom Emacs stuff here. So this was a video I watched, which was getting started with Doom Emacs. It's a lot shorter and it covers a lot less than the other video. But I didn't watch the other video because I believe that it was outdated. Like, I can't watch these videos, but like, given how long they are and how many there are and how I don't particularly love watching videos when it comes to tutorials. But I want to have a look at this video, which is more so a comparison of it against Vim. Because like, that's what will sell me, you know, ultimately.
I still get a lot of questions from people that seem confused why I use Emacs over Vim these days, because of course I used to be a Vim user. I still use Vim occasionally. Sometimes I do content about Vim on the channel, but Emacs is kind of my editor of choice these days. Why is that? I think one of the biggest reasons why I choose Emacs over Vim is that Vim has to run in a terminal, and terminal programs naturally have some limitations. And for a text editor, I would say there's serious limitations in running a terminal-based text editor because...
Is there a Neovim GUI? There's 2e. Yeah. Like, is there a Neovim GUI version? Because that would be interesting. The thing is, it would be slower as well, though. Neovide. Yeah, like I have heard about this, and like it is recommended for people switching from a life of like VS Code or Visual Studio, because it just makes the transition easier for them. But then like power users will still use the terminal version. But like, are there other benefits to the GUI? Or is it literally just this? Like, what's different? Ligatures, okay, that's nothing crazy. Animated cursor, no need, just lags things. Smooth scrolling, no need. Animated windows, again, I don't care about that. It seems to be like just cosmetic things that you can do because it's a GUI, whereas you couldn't before because terminal. Blurred floating windows. Okay. Emoji support. Yeah, none of those are grabbing my attention.
Because if you spend a lot of time in a text editor, so you're a programmer, a developer, a creative writer, and you spend a ton of time using your text editor, staring at that text all day, right, for hours on end, you want the best possible experience as far as font rendering and colors and everything like that. And there are limitations, of course, at the terminal that Emacs just doesn't have, because Emacs is its own program. It doesn't run in a terminal. I mean, you can run Emacs in a terminal if you have to, but technically what most people run Emacs as is the GUI version, the graphical version of Emacs. And because of that, the fonts just look beautiful. I played around with some of my font settings this morning. I spent a couple of hours kind of...
This video was 4 years ago, but like I don't have the same issues that he has with the fonts.
Ricing my Emacs config. This is 2 asterisks then a header, so this is a org level 2, and you can see I've got different...
There is this though, you can't really render Markdown as nicely. Like you can't preview Markdown as nicely as you can in, well, I guess Emacs or like VS Code, because the terminal has restrictions around like different sizes, right? To my understanding. Can't remember what it was. Neovim Markdown preview. There isn't an extension for it. Might have been this one. Are there any images? To preview how it looks. Great. Oh, whatever.
Different font sizes, right? So one of the things you can't do in a terminal, you can't have different font sizes. Everything has to be the exact same font size. That's just a limitation of a terminal. But in a GUI program, of course, you can have different font faces, different font sizes, and it really makes sense for these org level headers, right? Typically, your default fonts in Emacs are going to be a mono-spaced font, a fixed pitch font. But there's no reason why you couldn't have a variable pitched font to the Doom 1 color scheme for the org. Is basically use the standard, easy on the eyes, that's attractive, that's going to render all. I may eventually incorporate some of this into DTOS, which is kind of why I would.
Yeah, anyway, so what else we got? Doom casts, Noah's crash course. Okay, so let's have a look at this, the crash course. Or at least skim it. Installation, right. So decide what we're working on. Is it a distinct project, or is it something that spans multiple projects? Or does it need to live in a project? Workspace. What's a workspace? I don't know what a workspace is. So already this crash course is assuming you know things about Emacs. Yeah. Space for MX. For Magit. Okay, I'm just going to close this because that doesn't seem to be relevant to my level. Getting started with Emacs. Let's have a look at this. That's specifically for transitioning from Vim. And have a look at this too. And org mode. Have a look at that, I guess. And this is the official Emacs manual. Right. A photo of what my Emacs looks like with React.js. Okay. So MX, Alt X, type all the icons, install fonts. Was I meant to do that? All the thing is, a lot of these will change as well, which is also kind of annoying. All the icons, install fonts. Okay. Yes. Yes. Thing is, I already have the nerd font, so I don't know why it's not. Yeah, like it installed it to my device for some reason. But okay, so now can I doom/sync? No, that's been removed, I guess. Okay, but I can reload, right? Reload fonts, maybe? No? How do I, like, just reload to get my thing to, like, be different? Refresh. I don't know. I'm going to close it again and open Emacs. This time, the actual app. See if that helps anything. HDH. Wrong keybind. Awesome. It's a bit slow to open that. Okay, so now I have the icons. Awesome. So far, that's been quite helpful then. But like, what's the font it's using? Like, why does it not just use the font I want? There must be some kind of way to like set that. Set font. Yeah, give me JetBrains mono nerd. Font. Just like the normal one. I don't know which of these is normal. Okay, that just changed my text size. So if I go back to my, can I undo my changes? Nope. Config. Yeah, so now it's overriding this. Or did I just add it to my file? I don't understand. Custom? Okay, if I close it, yeah, close Emacs, and then open it again. Will it change back? Yeah. So what was the point of that? I guess it's just temporary. I don't know, dude. Okay, whatever. Press space to open the file chooser. So space dot. So is this just like a default thing? Like space is an alias for MX. It is. Wait, no, never mind. It isn't. What am I saying? This is expected. Okay. Our first step would be to edit our config. Okay, so go to init.l. Yep. Okay. bin/doom refresh. But I need to run it here. And then restart Emacs. Okay, so same as that then. Hit space F dot to navigate where you want to go. Space F dot is undefined. Okay. If you're in a project, you can search for the file name instead of going through paths via space P or space space. But that's if I'm in a project. So let's try space P dot. Okay, that works. Space space, same thing. Okay. But like these are keybinds I can also set up for Neovim, so like that isn't special anyway. Like I'll just point that out now. The niceties of Emacs, Doom, whatever. Okay, evil easy motion is better than relative line numbers, really. GSJ. And press the letter that pops up. It's a nicer placement for visual mode, which I hear is a bit of an anti-pattern. What? Visual mode. Why does it replace visual mode? I don't understand. What? GGVGC, is that a keybind? Do you know you can short your name? Yes, but I have had this discussion before. Bro, what? I'm very lost. There is a thing for this in Neovim as well. I don't use it, but I do have it installed, or at least I did. I forget why I don't use it. There was a reason, but maybe I'll try using it again. I don't know. But that's this, right? Space J. Yeah. Okay, I see. No, so this is different. It just gives you like a bunch of random symbols, basically, for where you can jump to. Is this good? I feel like it's not that big of a deal to just do jumping. Like, I never think like, oh, if only I could, jump fast. Like, if I want to go like down to community resources, boom, boom, like I'm there, Or like if I really need to, I can do /community, like I'm there. So like I don't really need the jumping if I can either search or whatever. It is annoying how it stays highlighting though. I kind of need to get that to not highlight automatically or like stay highlighted. That is annoying. But sometimes it's useful, so I don't know. Evil Snipe. I think it was Snipe I've used, right? STH goes straight there. Okay, let's have a look at this. I think the one I did use was called Snipe, but just for Vim. Holy moly, that was hard. What anime is that? High School of the Dead. No, that anime is a lot more inappropriate. Evil Snipe emulates Vim Seek or Vim Sneak in Evil Mode. How does it work again? Is it this one? So it's like F, but you type 2 characters. That's it. Again, like that's cool that you write 2 things, But like, if I need to go to one, by the way, I don't even use F like ever. But like, let's say I want to go to resources, right? Without pressing W. Like, sure, I could do FR, I guess. But like, if I really like, let's go to F lowercase r down here. It's like, oops, now I have to see there instead. Or like FP to go to projects. Or like FP. Never mind, I can't even go ahead. 2 different lines. Like, if I really need to go somewhere, like, let's say I want to do type. Like, let's say I want to press a key and then type two letters to get to that, right? Guess what? /PR projects, and I can cycle through them as well. So like, I don't get that. I didn't mean to close that. Evil commentary is awesome. Yeah. I have this for Neovim. Do I not have this for Emacs too? Let me kill this buffer. Go to my projects folder and just choose a random thing. Let's say my terminal in Rust. I don't know why it's so slow. So like loading the LSP or something? LSP not in a project or it is blocklisted. Why does that matter? But like, can I comment? Yeah, so I do have that. I guess it comes, I think it might be one of the options. But yeah, I do have that. Okay. Indent plus. Delete, and it will delete everything on that indentation. This deletes everything inside the if statement. Right, so it deletes everything that's on that line, I guess. That's indented on that line. That's pretty cool. And really good for like, yet another reason why significant white space is a useful feature. But for this as well, you can also just do DI brackets. So it's more so for languages with significant white space, right? Okay. Let's have a look at this.
So, welcome to this presentation.
The hour is literally an hour and a half long.
Which
I know I record 7-hour videos, but my own attention span is not that great. Yeah, fuck it. I'm just going to read the docs for that. So let's have a look at this again and actually read the Emacs documentation now. Distribution. New Emacs is a free software. This means that everyone is free to use it and free to redistribute it under certain conditions. New Emacs is not in the public domain. It is copyrighted and there are restrictions on its distribution, but these restrictions are designed to promote everything that a good copyrighting citizen would want to. So, I mean, it is a GNU project, right? So we go under the GNU license probably, which is for open source software. And stuff. Want to get a copy of New Emacs from someone else who has it. Okay, so introduction. Whew. Dude, what the fuck? Like, these farts, man, are not. They are nasty. They are nasty. Why is it talking about org mode? What's going on? I didn't ask for org mode. Org is a mode for keeping notes, maintaining to-do lists, and doing project planning with a fast and effective plain text system. It's also an authoring and publishing system, and it supports working with source code for literate programming and reproducible research. Why is it talking about org mode? I didn't ask it to. Okay, cursor echo area. Okay, the mode line and the menu bar. Okay, document structure, introduction. Is this like an org mode guide? I want to look like how to use Emacs. Was Emacs built for org mode? Now I'm actually quite confused. Was Emacs built for org mode? Yeah, no. So why? Oh my head, headlines. This is literally org mode. What the fuck? Okay, there's other things here. Why do I have a bump on my head? I don't remember back on my head. There's a special measure mode for editing binary files, hexel mode. Use hexel. Okay, so there's a hexel mode. Pictures. This is so confusing. A Lisp, work mode. It's cool how it uses Lisp as its config language, but like Neovim uses Lua, which isn't like that much worse. Plus, like Lua isn't the best config language. It's just, it's very customizable. Org mode. What? So why? What the fuck? Why are the docs talking about org mode from the get-go? Why is this such a confusing app? It's existed for like decades, for like 50 years. And it's actually confusing as hell. I've heard people like Magit, but like I don't have issues with Git right now. Just the keybinds, I guess. I'd appreciate like a good GUI is all I really want. Okay, let me actually look at some like comparisons of Vim versus Emacs, because I'm very confused now. Vim versus Emacs. Why is it 30 minutes long? Emacs is not a Vim replacement. Okay, that's a more nuanced video. And this one too. But these shorts are useless. Like the annoying usefulness of Emacs. Have a look at that video. Lex, who's he talking to? This guy gets like a bad reputation for being like a bit of a fraud. He's talking to the coffee guy, the CoffeeZilla. Okay. Weird there aren't more comparison videos on this, but I guess this is already like a niche topic, so I don't know if I want to watch this video or watch the original. Vimmax.
Welcome to the ultimate showdown in the programming world.
Okay, whoa. What the hell are we watching? Vim versus Emacs, the ultimate editor war, okay? I'm ready. Hi, YouTube. Say hello.
Welcome to the ultimate showdown in the programming world, folks. No, we're not talking about C versus C++ or PHP versus...
Vim is more popular though, right? To my understanding. Like, I know a lot more people who use Vim or have used Vim than people use Emacs. Probably because Vim can just, is used for SSHing into Linux terminals. So like it's kind of like a natural thing that people learn anyway, just because they need to use it for that. But like this guy, like the Primogen, he uses Vim. Vimothy uses Vim. Another YouTuber I know uses Vim. But like TS Soding, whatever how you pronounce his name, he uses Emacs. We'll see why he does in a second, but he doesn't seem to even use it for anything particularly crazy. Nor does he even, if I remember correctly, nor does he even recommend that you use Emacs. So I don't know.
I feel like these are old arguments. You know what I mean? These are old arguments. Okay, no one argues about this shit anymore.
PHP, no, but like C++ is still argued for some reason. I don't know why. I still don't understand. I mean, yeah, I don't understand why you use C or C++. Like people make arguments. Like I understand using C for like a Linux terminal because you don't want to avoid the complexity of C++. But that's because C++ is a bad language, and more just because something like the Linux terminal needs to be like use a language that's consistent enough, or like that's, I don't know, like simple enough that it doesn't get misused, and so people can like collaborate on the same project, right? Like that's that use case. But like if you're programming personally, I don't understand why you would use C over C++, unless you just, I don't know, like appreciate the simplicity of C. But like you really are holding yourself back, because like C++ isn't just a language with more features. It is literally a more powerful language in terms of the abstractability, you know, like the tools you have to just make better software code, you know, like architecture. But whatever.
More, okay? It's all about Neovim versus VS Code. That's a hot one. It's all about TypeScript versus JS.
Neovim versus VS Code is not even like a, like it doesn't really deserve to be a debate. Like the answer is Neovim if you care about productivity, and VS Code if you don't care about that and just want to have something simple that you can open up. But like if you want to take programming seriously and become more efficient, like there's a whopping one reason to not use Neovim, which is that GUI, I guess, for like debugging and like maybe like the Git stuff and like other things like that. But like even then, like VS Code is just kind of worse in every way.
Stocks. That's a hot one. You know.
I actually, I guess Markdown is a good reason to use VS Code, because you can preview the Markdown. But even like with that, like I wonder, like with Neovim, if you can get a plugin that just opens a window, or like code something like that opens a window for previewing Markdown instead. Or again, like have like a GUI version of Neovim. But I don't know.
You know what I mean? It's all about Bun versus Node or Dino. Oh, it's Dino. Thanks. I love it. I love that you guys love correcting me on such stupid things.
C versus Rust is not what people are arguing. People are arguing for C++ versus Rust. It's weird too. Like C programmers they have a very strong presence, let's say, on the internet, but they are surely a minority. Like they are a minority compared to C++ programmers. You just hear from C programmers a lot more, and I wonder why that is. Like, yeah, I don't get it. I just don't understand it.
Hi YouTube, shut up!
People tried to explain it before.
Hi.
Like I got comments on my video one time, but I still didn't understand.
Node.js. We're talking about the ultimate holy war, Vim versus Emacs. It's a debate as old as time itself, or at least as old as the internet.
And just also, for other people who hate C++ and prefer C over it, like a significant portion of C++'s issues only exist because of C. Like if C++ wasn't built on top of C, and it was its own independent language that didn't have to like inherit a bunch of C's bad features, like the language would literally be so much more nice. It's kind of ridiculous.
This somehow looks like a real image, and it bothers me. Okay, either AI's gotten too good, or people are too good. I don't believe you. It's real. This is a real image. See, AI has ruined our life. Okay, I just hate this.
What? The video is taken down? Why?
Welcome to the ultimate showdown in the programming world.
Okay,
was it even like a serious video?
And dedication that programmers on both
Usable into any environment. Yeah, so the good thing about Vim is that you can use it anywhere. Like because it is a terminal, all you need is a terminal to use it, which is quite attractive as well. It means that you can like install Neovim on some Linux server, I guess, and then use that and have your config there. You can just copy your config. It is declarative enough since it uses Lua as opposed to like arch, I guess. It's pretty cool. Emacs, flexible, customizable, and packed with every feature known to man. But like, do you need those features? And it's the best at those features. I don't know.
Both sides feel for their chosen editor is nothing short of absurd.
Like, I do prefer apps that do one thing well, because they will typically do that one thing better than a jack of all trades app will do, you know? Like, if you need... Yeah. Like, generally I do champion the idea of jack of all trades, but like, there's jack of all trades for like humans and like expertise, right? And like someone who can, like, you want to put in a project, and then there's like tools. It's not the same. Like, you want agents to be jack of all trades, but you want the tools to do one thing well, because then that tool doesn't have to compromise, you know? Because like the agents can use those tools that do one thing well effectively. So then a jack of all trades, like an operating system is jack of all trades, right? Like, think of that being the agent, and then you give it the tools to do specific things really well, and suddenly you have like a jack of all trades that does things extremely well because it's equipped with the tools to do things extremely well. Like, you know what I mean? Right? Emacs, it doesn't employ tools. Like, Emacs is a jack of all trades that doesn't have enough support for tools that can do things extremely well. That's kind of how I interpret it.
It's like asking a parent to choose their favorite child.
It's a pretty funny
Why not
meme
just
I'm
use
covering.
Vim over Emacs?
I do use Vim over Emacs.
Oh, God help us.
Vim users swear by its efficiency, speed.
Most of those were really good. Okay, most of those were really, really good. Okay, I'm not really sure what all of them have to do. You know, because some of them just seem
Users
like,
swear by its efficiency,
you know,
speed.
two swirly braces is just 2 paragraph jumps. I'm not sure why you had to do 2 to make it into something. You know, like, why not just 1? I don't get it. Why you got to be like that?
And the fact that it's included in almost every Unix-based system. The Emacs use.
By the way, that doesn't apply to me nearly as
Hold on, paragraph jump? Doesn't do anything there. Let me just close Emacs. Yes, close, please. Plus, like, I do like a Neovim sits in your terminal, because that means that I can just like open my terminal, right, for my file navigation, go to terminal RPG whatever, cd into it, right, and then just go Neovim or like nvim. Boom, I'm in, right? Or Neovim source / main. Boom, I'm in. It's closing braces that jumps paragraphs. Oh, it goes up and down. Okay, I see. Yeah, I've actually never used that. Like, I was aware it existed, but it's not a feature that I've used to the point that I literally forgot about it. Like, if I use it here, for instance, like, yeah, it just jumps through those. Like, it just jumps to like the next empty space, which is somewhat useful. But like, usually if I want to jump paragraphs, I just do Control D and Control U. Also, like, for some reason, Control D and Control U just don't work like very well in other things. Particularly in Neovim, I have it center my screen as well when I do it, which is why it's centered until it goes to the top of the page. But otherwise, like, it stays centered, right? For some reason, like in VS Code, that doesn't work because like some like desync thing, really annoying. And in Vim, Emacs even, it doesn't work either properly. So that's just
as much as it should.
Already a pain.
Do you know what I mean? Like, in the sense that I always just use Neovim
because I use that very often
for personal development. I like the fact that I have good muscle memory, so when I have to go on a server, which does happen every now and then, by the way, go on a server, hit some global marks, and hop around like it's 1984. It's fantastic. Like, I know what I'm doing out there, and it feels real good. We're on the but no, everyone uses Emacs via the GUI version. Very few people are terminal Emacs users. It turns out the only way to use Emacs is truly in the GUI.
Because why would you use the terminal version when Vim exists?
Users, on the other hand, praise its extensibility, customization options, and the fact that it's more like a complete operating system than just an editor.
That's my issue. Like, Emacs is like an operating system, people say, But like I have an operating system. It's called Arch Linux, and it's incredibly customizable already. Like why would I have a worse operating system within my operating system? You know, like I'm not gonna, you know, virtual machine Windows inside Linux when I can just use Linux.
Please
But
tell
let's
me the
be
joke.
honest. Both sides have their pros and cons.
He missed the joke, right? What's the joke? Emacs is a great operating system. It's just missing a good text editor. Where's the joke?
And at the end of the day, it all comes down to personal preference. Some programmers swear by Vim, claiming that it's the only editor worth using.
Correct.
They'll tell you that it's lightning fast,
Yep.
ultra efficient,
Yep.
and so simple.
You wouldn't get it. What? What? It's a text editor?
Simple that even a caveman could
Yep.
use it. They'll also tell you that it's customizable to the point
Yep.
of obsession.
Nice Neovim. I love the Neovim going on right here. I don't like the fact that you're doing implicit function calls. Okay, I don't like that about Lua, but
Is it
everything else
Neovim?
looks
It's a
great.
Space Vim.
And that you can practically code with your eyes closed.
Looks like Space Vim to me. This also Space Emacs, I think. I don't know I don't know what's special about Space Vim. It's a modular configuration of Vim and Neovim. Inspired by Space Max. Okay, there you go. Spacky Max. Yeah, I mean, I have thought about like downloading a pre-configured version of Neovim as well, just so I have like the LSP and stuff. But like I do want to learn how to do it manually, just because it's worth learning how to do it manually. It just doesn't work all the time, which is my issue with it. Like fucking Tree Sitter is giving me AIDS like every single day for reasons that I just don't know. Is there a config here? No. Is there a Doom Vim? There is. It's archived 2 years ago. Wait, it comes with the same like home page. That's weird. I do want to get this file explorer thing. That looks quite useful. To be fair, I want this file explorer in my terminal full stop. Like, it'd be cool, like, if when I launched my terminal, let's say here, like, if I launched my terminal, it also launched maybe a separate window, I don't know, that just listed everything live. Okay, this needs more space, I guess. Well, like, take this, but I don't know, have like less of the information here. And then like these are clickable as well. So like if I clicked on this, it would take me to the directory there as well. So like if I clicked on .config, it would also take me to .config there. I don't know why it opened two windows. That's a bit strange. Maybe I clicked it twice by accident. But yeah. How does this work? Has its own like kind of thing. Okay.
Once you've mastered its arcane key bindings.
They're not arcane.
Of course,
okay.
they won't tell you that you'll spend the first few months stumbling around like a blindfolded baby deer before you can even write a Hello World program.
False.
But hey,
Absolutely
who needs a
false.
user-friendly interface when you
false.
can use a
Just
million
type it.
different commands to accomplish the same damn thing? As for the Vim community,
Literally like yesterday, my friend was saying how he used Vim at work for Linux. Well, I assume it was for Linux to like pop it to SSH, and I was like, oh, what? But I believe he just used the mouse with, and that's works fine. I mean, you don't be able to exit and stuff like that, I guess, but like you don't have to like master all the keybinds because you can use a mouse. Obviously, you shouldn't use a mouse, but you know, like Vim, like if you're learning Vim for the first time, you don't have to like learn all these keybinds just to type hello world, you know, like I can literally go into a program, you know, open Neovim, okay, press I to start typing. Right, and then awesome. That's the only keypad I really need. And then do what, like int main. Then using my mouse, go up there, press tab, puts, hello world. We're using a C now, I guess. And then like you can highlight stuff and whatnot. You know, maybe Control C won't work, but like you can get started without needing to do like kind of thing. Don't say that.
It's full.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I want to hear a good take. You know what I mean? I want a good take. I want a good take. I want to hear a good take. Okay. This feels like an old and tried and true take that's not actually that great.
Of quirky characters and hilarious memes. From Vim is my co-pilot to yank and paste, they have a language all their own. Some might say it's a cult, but they prefer to call it a community of passionate users. And let's not forget the classic Vim tutorial, which feels like you're learning an entirely new language. But for Vim enthusiasts, the steep learning curve is worth it for the speed and efficiency they gain. So if you ever meet someone who uses Vim, just nod and smile because you might not understand their quirks, but they're probably writing code faster than you can speak.
He's not wrong, okay? He's
And
not wrong. Also,
Emacs.
is that Doom in Emacs? Is that Doom Max? Does Doom Max come with a Doom distribution that I was completely unaware of?
Does it actually? Wait, does it actually? Because that'd be awesome if it does. Doom. Run Doom. Game. I have no idea.
Emacs enthusiasts, on the other hand, will argue that if you want an editor that can do anything, Emacs is the answer. Want to edit text with one hand while sipping coffee with the other? Emacs has got you covered. Perhaps you need to run a terminal emulator inside your text editor.
Should never have to do that. Okay, those who run terminal emulators inside their text editor have already screwed up. Okay, you've already screwed up. All right, you're not living the POS extreme. Okay, you're not the philosophy.
What are I don't get it. Why use Emacs terminal emulators? Because like every single computer will have a terminal of some sort. So why? Buffers? Being able to search and copy paste from a terminal is something that I would not want to live without. GDB and PDB. One of my biggest keyword changes was moving all my terminal names out of Emacs. So it's more for like the integration of the commands, I guess. I don't understand.
Emacs can do that too. Want to play Tetris or read email while writing code? Emacs has modes for that.
Playing Tetris while reading email sounds like the most terrifying activity ever. That means I'm not reading email.
In short, if you can dream it, Emacs can do it. Now, if you're an Emacs user, apart from being a Richard Stallman fanboy, you're part of a community that takes its editor very seriously. It's not just a tool, it's a way of life. Emacs users are known for customizing their editor to the nth tool.
That is jokes.
It's a way of life. Emacs users are known for customizing their editor to the nth degree, creating complex macros and scripts to automate their work, and obsessively tweaking their setup to get the most out of it. And then there's the infamous Emacs Pinky, a
Just do
condition
that
caused
in-
by the strain of hitting the control and meta keys so frequently that some Emacs use.
I mean, like, we joke about it, but like, it is genuinely a reason why I don't want to use Emacs keybinds. Yeah, it's like, if you're writing Emacs, get Arch, bro. Get Arch. Like, I see why Arch and Neovim is such a popular combination. Because you have Arch for Neovim, as opposed to needing
I don't like
Emacs
I don't
operating
like this
system.
image or laughing at this image, because if this happens to be a real image, oh, it's a real image, this would make me sad because someone got real hurt. But at the exact same time, Emacs just so beautifully describes this. Pick is definitely out there being like, well, actually.
Users actually develop a callus on their pinky finger. But for Emacs users, it's all worth it for the power and flexibility of their beloved editor.
Yeah.
While the Vim versus Emacs debate may seem like a modern phenomenon,
That's
the
pretty good
truth
meme.
is
That's
that
pretty
these
good meme.
editors have been around literally for decades. Vim, for example, was first is that
pretty
these
good meme.
editors have versus around literally for decades. Vim, for example, was first released in 1991 and was based on the VI editor, which was first
Is actually technically based on the Stevie editor, if we're going to be real with each other. Okay, Stevie. You may have heard of Stevie, the stopgap between Vi and Vim. Vi, Stevie, Vim. It's kind of like a succession of kings, you know?
created in 1976. Emacs, on the other hand, was first released in 1976
Yep.
and was created by Richard Stallman, one of the pioneers of the free software movement. Over time, both editors have evolved significantly, with each community adding new features and improving upon existing ones.
When I first used Nano, I didn't even know how to use it. I think it's simple, like it's meant to be simple, but like I hated it. And like that was after being used to Vim already.
So now it's time to answer the ultimate question.
Go back.
Which
And we all know it's
Space
not
Max.
Space Max, it's Doom Max. Everybody knows
how old is
the
this video?
final progression is Doom Max. I've actually ran this entire list. I actually did when I started out programming Notepad.
So that's
I
use
did
Emacs.
go to Vim. I went from Vim to Emacs for some amount of time, and then I actually even went from Emacs to Doom Max and Space Max, and then went back to Vim. Well, actually, then I spent 6 months in an Atom Microsoft VS Code like hell for a while, and then I went back to Vim.
editor is better, Vim or Emacs? And the answer is neither.
You got to have an opinion.
Please.
It's clearly Vim. Okay, it's clearly Vim. Got to have an opinion. State an
Why is it
opinion.
Vim? Why is it
Some
Vim?
programmers may prefer the speed and efficiency of Vim, while others may be drawn to the power and versatility of Emacs.
But Neovim is also powerful and versatile. And like, you know what else is versatile and powerful? Your OS. I don't get it, man. Such confusion.
By the way, you can't do a lot of these things in non-editor or like without the GUI mode, right? You can't
Yeah.
just terminal a lot of these things, okay?
No.
He licks these nuts, okay? We don't even talk about that, okay? Literally, oh my goodness.
Like, for example, people say that Emacs is good because of its window management, right? Because it has like kind of like Tmux style. You know what else has Tmux style window management? Hyperland on Arch Linux. So like what? Like if you can use Arch on Linux, I don't see the point. Maybe like if you're stuck on like Mac OS or Windows and like you really hate how it works and for some reason you refuse to install a new operating system, then like maybe I see the Emacs potential. But then you need to learn Emacs. So like yeah, it's nice that it's portable, but like I don't see at that point. Probably just get a virtual machine for Linux. Like Linux isn't exactly expensive either to run. Like I'm pretty sure if you were to emulate Linux within Windows, it would run a lot better than if you were to do the vice versa. So yeah.
Oh my goodness! You guys just did this for me. Meme generator. Guy beat up baseball bat. I don't know. Let's see. What is the meme where it's like the two guys talking and then there's a third one that comes in and they beat him to death? What is that one? Meme beat a baseball bat. I don't know the name of it. What is the name of this meme?
It's so hard to
I'm
find.
afraid to go
me.
too far
To
down
find
on the internet.
stuff.
Where is it? Where
The C
to the
played
point
why
where people make long messages on Reddit about me, and that's all we do, okay? That's all you gotta do around here, okay? That's all you have to do. You know you've successfully. And second off, there was a real good piece of information in that video. I hate this idea. I hate when people say you should just use the editor that makes you feel the most productive. Because usually what that means is you should use the only editor you should know.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Which is not what you want to get stuck in.
Right? I'm inflating my views.
And I don't know why, it's such a common take as well, where people say, just use whatever, like, works for you. It's like, yeah, but like you don't know what works for you because you haven't tried to use things that don't work for you but might end up working for you a lot better, right? Like if I say, yeah, use what works for you to like a Notepad user, they're probably just going to keep using Notepad. And like not plus, like just Notepad. Like, would you want that for them, their entire career? Or would you prefer they branch out and try Vim, Like, it's a stupid argument. Same with languages as well. Like, you use a language and it's the best fit for the job. But like, how do you know what's the best fit for the job? Like, it's a benefit of knowing multiple languages, in that you can, decide what's best for the job. But like, it's not like for example, take Rust and C++, right? Like, the reason they are good for different jobs may be because they specifically are designed to be better in certain ways. Like, C++ may be good for a game engine. Not necessarily because Rust is like a worse language, but just because it has better library support, right? With like STL and OpenGL and all those kind of things. And like, I don't know, what's it called? Vulkan, right? But like, that doesn't mean Rust isn't a good tool for the job. It's more just so that Rust's like ecosystem might not be developed enough. And then recognizing why would then help you fill those gaps. Like, maybe you are a company that says, in that case, let's go ahead and port these libraries, or make our own graphics library or something like that to fill that gap. Like, I don't know. But like, just ignoring things, other options, because, whatever works well for you, don't worry about the other options. Just use whatever works well for you. Like, that's not good advice.
I am. But that's literally what that usually means. It's just use the one you already know, and that's that. Because if you were to use something else, you would slow down. And that's kind of annoying. It's a stupid argument because you don't even know what's out there. The good thing from that video, though, that you should really take away, which is you should try them all. I've tried Emacs for months on end. I've tried VS Code for months. I tried even stupid Atom for like multiple weeks.
What is
okay,
Atom?
Multiple weeks. You know what I mean? It's not just about which one's going to feel the best for you, but which one makes you look at software differently and get good at it.
Now, question is, do I try Emacs for months on end or not? Because right now, I'm really not seeing a reason to. Again, I'm gonna launch Emacs. I have Emacs. I've tried programming in it a little bit. But first of all, there's issues with my LSP, which is annoying. But even besides that, I don't see the point. Like right now, it just looks like a more annoying Neovim, because it has a bunch of features that I will not use, and it has a configuration model which I don't even necessarily prefer. Like, I do like using Lua over Lisp, because Lua is like an actual programming language, whereas Lisp is very bare bones to the point that, like, to a flaw. I don't necessarily want that for my config. Maybe I just want to have a config. I don't know. Well, no, I do know. I don't know. And Doom Emacs as well. Like the documentation is really lacking, and the Emacs documentation itself is also very confusing. And the resources for Emacs are not plentiful. They're quite limited. There's one YouTuber called DistroTube, whatever, and his videos are also really long. So can I be bothered? There's no benefits on the horizon. Org mode might be cool, but that's one feature. And what's so great about org mode anyway? Is it a better syntax than Markdown? Maybe. If that's true, then I can just use org mode without Emacs. Then that's just the language that's used for the Markdown format. So I don't know. I need to be convinced.
One big thing that stunted me for a long time was the fact that
because like I can use Emacs for months on end, right? And I just like try it out, but like I'm not gonna magically discover features without other people telling me that they exist. Like there's some Neovim features that I'm not aware of. In fact, like my Neovim that I've been using for months now is like horrifically undercooked. Like I have no LSP, I have no debugger, I have really crappy tree sitter setup, right? So like it just breaks every now and then for no reason. I have no like special like I have very limited keybinds. I have like no like keybind for like building and like CMake kind of things. Like I have none of that. I have no good file navigation. Like there are things I could do to make Neovim a lot better, and I can see that, But like for Emacs, I don't see anything that I can do with that is particularly useful. So
I stayed in NetBeans. So when I stayed in NetBeans, all I would do is use NetBeans.
What is NetBeans?
And when I wanted to debug something, I would press the bug symbol. When I wanted to run something,
Java.
I would press the run symbol. But guess what? I had no idea how it worked at all. And so I was purely limited to only being able to work in things that worked inside of NetBeans. And I just would never remove myself from that.
Right.
And it's because I never actually learned how things work.
Yeah.
And those are hard times. And, I wish I would have been a little bit faster at learning how things work instead of taking my sweet ass time. But then, and then I moved to IntelliJ, and the same thing happened, right? I still didn't know how things work. And so I would just only do what I could do in the box that I understood. Then I kind of grew out of that. And also, yes, Java build system, super also on that team.
IntelliJ, VS Code. I don't use IntelliJ. When I installed VS Code recently, and I mean, I still have it on my computer, I instead disabled IntelliJ, I think, and I used the Clang LSP, I believe. I thought that all things would use IntelliJ, but no, you can actually just install like a dedicated LSP, and that's better. Like the Clang LSP will work better for Clang compilers because that's kind of like what it's built for. So yeah, it's interesting. And it's sort of like I'm not being branching out here. Like I have before I used Neovim, I was using what's it called, Sea Lion, right? Which was very cool. It opened my eyes to Clang, Clang Tidy in particular, as well as just, Clang Tidy really was the main thing. And because I had Clang Tidy, that also helped me learn how to write my C++ code better, like format it better, and I learned about no discard and things like that. So that was great. Before that, I used VS Code for the longest time. I tried Notepad++ because in university I was learning Haskell, but I don't see a reason to use it. Really, it's just kind of like maybe between like VS Code and Notepad++, you can make some arguments, but VS Code, to my understanding, is more configurable anyway. And then against Vim, both are just not even comparable. So like there are lots of options out there, but Neovim does seem to be the strongest. And Emacs has been on my mind, hence why I've now installed it and have tried using it. And I really did intend to go all in on Emacs because org mode, okay, like there's terminal emulators, maybe that's useful. Okay, seems cool. But now I'm like, oh, because what happened was I installed Doom Emacs, and I expected to, I don't know, suddenly have these big productivity gains. But then I installed it and I was like, okay, it uses evil mode with Vim keybinds. Can I disable that? I was like, oh, I guess I shouldn't disable that because the Vim keybinds are better. Okay, so that's already one less reason to use Emacs. And then I was like, okay, well, I have that set up. So then, I have an LSP, that's nice. Doesn't seem to work because it doesn't recognize C++ 26 or my CMake project, but whatever, I could probably fix that. But hold on, why? Okay, so what else can I do then? And it's well, you have to do Alt X, open the menu. Okay, that's kind of annoying. I prefer to just do colon and type it because then that's more ergonomic, and not to do all these control commands. There's docs. Okay, there's docs here. Seems like lacking. Okay, so what can I actually do? There's a video in org mode. Okay, I might look into that. Okay, I can install a terminal emulator, but why would I do this if I can just use a terminal? I don't understand that. And that's it. I was like, okay, now what? I sold Emacs, ooh, I'm gonna be able to do all these things. But then I watched the first 40 minutes of TSO Ding's video where he reinstalls Emacs and sets up his his Emacs just plain config from scratch. And I was like, okay, he's literally has like installed a theme, and he's enabled relative line numbers, and that's about it. Like even doesn't seem like particularly well suit like it doesn't seem like he particularly remembers how to even use Emacs and like set it up in like the config, because it seems like his config is so simple anyway. So like, why? Yeah. So yeah, I guess this is the end of the Emacs journey.
Absolutely. The name is the Java J.
There are other videos though, which I'm gonna have a look at. I've heard of people using Emacs, switching to Vim, then switching back to Emacs. But it seems like the main thing there is org mode. Like there's a YouTuber who I found who makes videos on Emacs. She's been using Emacs for I think a year and a half, she said. And the big thing for her was org mode. But like even she said like she's aware that there are other uses for Emacs, but she just hasn't looked into them yet because she hasn't felt the need to. The main thing that she uses it for is the org mode. So I guess org mode is a deal breaker for me. But again, like, do I need Emacs to get the advantages of org mode? Emacs with Vim keybinds is the way to go. I can have the same keybinds to navigate the terminal, my text editor, my PDFs, my notes, and my to-do list. But like, that's if you want your notes, your PDFs, and your terminal to be in Emacs. Obsidian exists. It's right here. And I do like Obsidian. Like, my only issues with Obsidian are the Vim key bindings are lacking. But that's less because the keybinds suck. It's more just that the Vim keybinds are not well suited for markdown text editing, because these paragraphs are treated as one line of text. So it's like it's just kind of annoying to edit that. And I have less issue using my mouse as well when it comes to like this kind of natural language. Like Vim keybinds are particularly useful for editing code, you know, but like when you're like editing markdown and like paragraphs of text, it's not the same. Like the mouse comes in more handy there, and you don't really miss those keybinds as much. Let's keep looking at videos.
So this topic is one that I've talked at great length about in the past, but it keeps coming up, and it's one that's very difficult to really explain to people. So that's why a lot of people keep asking questions about Emacs and Vim.
If it is difficult to explain, it makes me dubious on just how true it is.
Versus Emacs, what's the difference? If I'm a Vim user, why should I even want to use Emacs? What's the reason? And part of the confusion is a lot of people compare Vim and Emacs. And to be honest, Vim and Emacs are not even remotely comparable.
Yeah, see, I've heard that argument as well. And it's just like, if they're not comparable, then why am I making a decision between them? Like, that's just not true. It's false information. Like, it's like saying, like the policies of the blue party and the red party in our political system, just imagine this, like they're so different, like they're not really comparable, like you can't really compare. Like, okay, but I still need to vote between the two parties and choose one, or choose a different party, whatever. Like, let's assume I have two options. Likewise, I'm using Vim or I'm using Emacs. I'm not using both. Therefore, they have to be compared. Like, you can't say they can't be compared. Like, I'm choosing between them. I need to compare them. And like, maybe you can argue like, oh, but they're for completely different use cases. But like, in that case, if I'm using Vim, and the argument is Emacs has a completely different use case, then I'm not using. Then I have no reason to use Emacs, because I'm using Vim for a use case, and I intend to keep using it for that use case. Like that use case is not going to disappear. So if Emacs is, it's not comparable, then clearly I need Emacs. And again, then in that case, I should be using Vim and Emacs because they have different use cases. So it doesn't make sense. You can't say that. Because
they are so vastly different. They're just fundamentally totally different things. And I think this is...
No, they're not. They both edit text. That's why I want to use it. Fundamentally, they aren't different. Maybe they have different approaches to editing text, but they're still text editors, and I will need to compare them for how they go about editing text. Okay, but let's see what he says in this video. Same for like operating systems as well. Like, I don't know, like you can't compare Arch to NixOS. It's like, yes, you can. NixOS is declarative, and that's kind of the whole benefit of it. And Arch has a more rolling release, so you get things that are more up to date, but that also means that things can break. Well, that's also not really true because things tend to not really break. I don't understand why that even happens to some people. Or like comparing Arch to like, I don't know, Gnome, and it's like, yeah, you can compare them. It depends on whether you want things to be set up nicely for you or whether you want to have the control. Like there are points to be made. You can compare them.
It's part of the reason why no one's ever really been able to answer this question properly, because, when somebody asks, hey, why should I, the Vim user, switch to Emacs? When, no one's going to have a good answer for that, because that question, for one thing, is almost nonsensical. That is like me asking, hey, I'm a Notepad++ user, should I switch to Steam? It's like, wait, what?
No, that's not the same thing. You can't edit text with Steam. You can't play games with Notepad++. You can edit text with Emacs, and you can edit text with Neovim, specifically code. It's not an apples to oranges comparison. Dude, like the whole apples to oranges thing, by the way, like as a construct, like the way that people use that to say, you're comparing apples to oranges. No, you're not. Stop overusing it. And for the record, apples and oranges are both edible fruits. You can't compare apples and oranges because maybe one tastes better than the other, and they're different vitamins. Like it's annoying. It's annoying. It's overused, and it just completely makes discussion around like topics that like I actually want to compare things. It just makes it so much harder to do that. Maybe the reason that people can't answer the question of why actually it makes it over Vim is because there isn't a good answer. I don't know, like maybe you shouldn't use it over Vim. I'm sure if someone asked why should I use Vim over Emacs, there'd be a much more easy answer there.
Notepad++ is an editor. Steam obviously is a gaming platform. It's like the question doesn't even make sense, and it's almost that kind of way with Vim.
Why is Emacs called Emacs? Editor macros. Yeah, so it's like macro. I don't understand what the macros are there. The macros like the Lisp things. Editing macros. E with macros. What? Emacs makes all computing simple. Okay, I don't even know.
In Emacs, they are so not the same thing, really, truly apples to oranges, right? So when you ask, hey, should I switch from Vim to Emacs, it's...
Where does apples to oranges come from? Literally the first thing here is what's something to eat. 1670s English proverb collection. Pears and oranges. People often joke that apples and oranges are actually easy to compare. Yeah. It's pretty useful though, because it means that if someone brings up that argument and says apples to oranges, I can say that, well, actually, you can compare them. So that's pretty funny.
It's almost like you're asking something ridiculous, like, should I switch from Firefox as my browser to Thunderbird as my email client? It's like, wait, what?
But I can use both. I don't understand. Maybe the argument is that, okay, you can use Neovim with an Emacs, but no one does that. So, I don't know. Like the question is, why should I use Vim over Emacs as a text editor? That is the question. And now because I've put a context around it, maybe it makes it easier to compare them, okay?
I can't even understand the question, so how could I possibly give you an answer? Now, having said all that, I am actually going to try to answer the question today. At least I'm going to give it my very best shot. So let's talk about why people criticize Emacs as far as like the Vim users that don't want to switch to Emacs. What are they typically complaining about? Well, I think the biggest criticism about Emacs seems to be that Emacs is a text editor, which it's really not. That's why the question.
How is that a criticism? That's not a criticism. no one has ever said that Emacs sucks because it's a text editor when comparing it to Vim, which is also a text editor.
Hey, should I switch from Vim to Emacs? Why that question is nonsensical is because Vim is a text editor. Emacs really isn't a text editor. And that's where really the confusion comes from, especially if you're a Vim user that has tried to use Emacs. You know, so many of you guys that are Vim users, you know, you switch to Emacs thinking it's a text editor, and that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to just have Emacs be your text editor, and it doesn't make sense to you. And the reason it doesn't make sense is because Emacs is not really a text editor. At least it's not solely a text editor. Emacs really is more akin to a complete operating system. It's really more akin to being a window manager. It's really, you could almost think of it as being a terminal emulator more than a text editor. Like the text editing, yeah, there's a text editor component to Emacs. Emacs has a text editor, but Emacs is definitely not a text editor. And when we're
that's, you know, a much better thing to start with in the video.
talking about Emacs being a replacement for
And then you can explain why the text editor is inferior.
something, Emacs really isn't a replacement for your text editor. Like Emacs is not meant, I wouldn't say Emacs is your replacement for Vim. Emacs is really a replacement for your terminal emulator and the terminal emulator workflow that so many of you guys are used to. Emacs, it basically replaces all of that. Let me switch over to my desktop and let's discuss, you know, your traditional terminal workflow. So you open a terminal typically, right?
This is
You
Hyperland.
open a terminal and here at the command line, you run some commands. Maybe you do an ls, you cd around to, I don't know, different things. We'll just cd here. I'll do an ls, check what is in here. And then, you know, you'll open something in Vim, right? And then you'll play around, you'll do your edits, you know, whatever edits you want to make, right? And then you'll write and quit, and then you're back at the command line to once again, you know, cd around and do all of your GNU core util commands. Maybe you'll manipulate some streams of text using things like grep, sed, all, you know, all of that stuff. And then maybe you'll find another file that you'll want to edit, and you'll end up back in your text editor, because a lot of times you'll end up in text editors in this kind of workflow. And then you quit, you're back at the command line, and then finally, when you think you're done with everything, you'll close out of the terminal. So that's your traditional terminal-based workflow. And when I say Emacs is more of a replacement for a terminal than a replacement for Vim or whatever text editor you're using, is because, you know, the Emacs workflow is very similar to a terminal workflow, as in, you know, how you get things done. So
I will say, I do like how Emacs has buffers. I think that's a really useful feature, or like a useful way of organizing like context switching. Like when I'm editing a Neovim, for instance, I will just hook my things with the what do you call it, the hooker the hooker plugin that the Primogen made. I forgot what it's called, Fork maybe, but like the one where you can like hook things. Actually, let me just show you this one, right? This thing, Harpoon. There you go. So that I can switch between different things. That's what I use there, and then I use that to switch with. I mean, same thing, I guess here. It's just that. Yeah, I mean, okay, like this is buffers, I guess, except you can choose which ones to pin. But because you can choose which ones to pin, that also means that. But like then again, like even with the buffers, like it's like you still have to choose which ones to pin. It's just like every file you open is what you choose. So like if I go into a project like this, right? Like all of these are not buffers. They're only buffers once I open them, right? So. Although it is annoying, by the way, how if I go into my file picker, I can't press escape to go back to the file I was just in. That is annoying. So I do wanna improve the file navigation in my Neovim, but I'm pretty sure I can do that without using Emacs. But even like with the buffers, like I can also just like search for stuff. Like I can actually do pf, like search for, take me to my plant file. Boom, like I'm there. So that's pretty nifty. And I can again I can add keybinds to like switch between the thing I was just on and the thing I'm on. I don't know, maybe Neovim even has buffers and I'm just not aware of it. Maybe I should look into that as well. But yeah. Another thing I do like about Emacs is that when you have your commands, it shows you which commands you have available. So like when I do Alt X, it gives you a list of the possible commands. When I do commands here, like I have nothing. Like, can I get tree sitter? Like I have no autocomplete or anything for commands. Again, I could probably enable that with a plugin, but that's just a feature that I would like as well. Really, I need to configure my Neovim. Like it's so, literally all my Neovim has right now is like crappy syntax highlighting and some autocomplete and some custom keybinds to make things more convenient, and a few plugins like commenting that make things convenient that also break because tree sitter is broken sometimes. That's actually like my entire Neovim. Like I'm really working on like pretty minimal setup. So I do need to do more. Same with my Arch Linux. Like I only figured out that Rofi could do this yesterday, and now I'm going to use Rofi to set up a bunch of my utilities here, like an app launcher that actually looks good and like can also let me choose windows and stuff. I want to configure that properly. I want to configure a power menu. I don't have a power menu. I don't have a Bluetooth menu or anything like that. It's like these are all things that I need to configure.
In Emacs, what you do is you just open Emacs. You don't open a terminal, right? You just open Emacs, and you can run some commands. You could do a meta X to get a list of all the thousands of various Emacs commands to run, or if you got key bindings for certain things, you can, do a key binding to open whatever program or here whatever text file I want to open, and I can play around in this file and do whatever changes I want to do, and then when I'm done, I can save the file, I can quit out of the file, I can go somewhere else inside of Emacs. But in Emacs, unlike the terminal workflow where when you quit out of Vim you just drop back to the command line, I can go anywhere I want to in Emacs. So if I want to, I can go back to the dashboard page, but if I wanted to go somewhere else, I could just go to my list of buffers. That's another thing that's a little bit different with Emacs and Vim is buffers, right? So both Emacs and Vim have buffers. A buffer is just a program that's running, that's open, that you can come back to. The difference is Vim, of course, being a text editor, those buffers are just text editing buffers where everything you do in Emacs is a buffer. So if I go to the web browser in Emacs, so if I do EWW and let's go to distro.tube, my website, I can go here and this buffer, it'll be in the buffer list. As long as I don't kill this buffer will always be around. I can go back to my Emacs config. If I wanted to, I could, go to my Qtile config, and you'll notice, the text here is different. It's not zoomed in, right? This is a normal size text because I didn't zoom in this buffer, right? I zoomed in this buffer. That's another thing with Emacs, because you have these different buffers and they all have their own, memory as far as what you were doing in them. And as long as you never kill the buffer, you could end up with dozens, or in some cases, even hundreds of these buffers in Emacs that you can switch between. And it's a radically different kind of workflow than that, because again, it's such a nonsensical question, because again, Emacs is not really replacing Vim. Emacs is replacing your terminal. Think of your terminal emulator here, and everything you do at the command line, then you end up in a text editor such as Vim. Imagine, you spend a lot of time at the terminal. If you're one of those people that you do so much work in the terminal, you're no longer going to do that if you switch to Emacs. If you're using Emacs the way it's supposed to be used, Emacs is essentially replacing your terminal. So instead of opening a terminal...
That much I see as being true. But why? Like, I think there's some useful things you can do with it, but again, I have Arch Linux at my fingertips. If I want to, I can have a pop-up menu. Like if I do, let's say Windows P, right now that opens my project's directory, and then like gives me a list of things, so I can do, like navigate within that quite easily. But like I should really change this to open now that I know how to use Rofi to open a Rofi menu, right? That lets me launch my projects here, and then when I select one of my projects. Let's say like here. I mean, I do want to configure this because it's a bit annoying. I might even remake this in Quick Shell. Like here, like it would open my projects folder like this, and then when I click on it, it would open. well, yeah, it would open the thing in Neovim, right, in my terminal. So that would be quite useful. I mean, I can also already open Neovim as it is, and I believe, yeah. And what that does is it ties it to the actual thing. So like I do wonder as well, like, should I launch Neovim as a standalone application, or should I open it as in my terminal instead? So when I quit, I can go back to my terminal. I don't know, but like these are things that I can and should configure.
To begin whatever work you're about to do, you open Emacs. Do everything in Emacs, right? You get your text editor inside of Emacs. You need to run things at a shell prompt. You've got various shells within Emacs, such as the E shell, which the E shell is, quite magical. Let me open up E shell here in another window. Let me move it so my head's not in the way. But the E shell is awesome because it's got a lot of your standard command line, like GNU core util kind of applications that you can run. But of course, being that it's written in Emacs Lisp, I could run a Emacs Lisp program, such as the find file command, your standard Emacs find file command program. I could find file my .bash rc. When I do that, it's going to open the .bash rc in a Emacs editing buffer, right? And when I'm done, I could, go back to my previous buffer. I'll still be in the E shell. So again, Emacs, it's really all about replacing your terminal workflow. The question about Vim and Emacs, they're not comparable. One's a text editor, one is a much more complete environment, a complete user interface where, again, it would be like me asking, hey, should I switch from my text editor gedit to Qtile, the window manager, right? That actually is a very good analogy, right? Because asking, should I switch from gedit to Qtile is essentially like asking, should I switch from Vim to Emacs? Because Vim, again, is a text editor, where Emacs is much closer to being something like a window manager than a text editor. I think what really kind of muddies the water a little bit when we ask these questions about Vim and Emacs and trying to compare the two, trying to decide which one is right for you, is too many people focus on things like features and functionality, especially, missing features and missing functionality. Hey, if I switch from Vim to Emacs, what am I going to be missing? What do I need to do? What do I need to tweak? And it's not about that at all. As far as, functionality and features, Vim and Emacs, as far as their text editing capabilities, it's pretty much on par with each other. So it's nothing about that. That's not what we're talking about when we talk about Vim versus Emacs. So it's all about the differences in workflow. That's the difference, right? And that's part of the reason why so many people criticize Emacs or resist Emacs. They don't really want to touch it. It's because they know it's going to be a different kind of workflow, and people resist change. People fear change. People resist change, and I get it because I'm the same way in many.
I'm sort of thinking if they are on par with each other as far as text editing goes. I'm not entirely sure that's true. It's definitely, you can have Emacs essentially act as Vim. So like in that sense, they can be on par with each other because Emacs can just copy Vim. I hear like an invisible cat. Like there's one right next to me, but it's not doing anything. But I hear like cats like scratching and stuff. Whatever. Yeah. So like when Emacs can just copy Vim. First of all, it's never going to copy it perfectly, which is what I'm already having issues with, like with the Control D and Control E, like I was talking about. And even if it does, why use the copy when I can just use Vim? So it's like, well, maybe Emacs has other useful features, but then do the features appeal to me? Not really. I don't like having an operating system with my operating system. So yeah, so I guess the answer is just, do you like your operating system? My answer is yes. So So the question is, do you not like your operating system? My answer is no. So I should use Emacs. Is that the answer then?
Many aspects of my computing life, I don't like breaking existing workflow. And you certainly have to break your workflow if you switch from that terminal-based workflow to Emacs, because now all of your terminal-based programs that you used to run, all of those terminal-based editors and file managers, various incursive programs and things like that you used to run, you're going to learn all new programs, because no longer are you going to use those terminal-based programs. You're going to use Emacs-based programs that will replace all of that stuff. But here's the thing, even though you're going to have to learn some new things, and yes, it's...
Well, that's the thing too, like, I need to use these Emacs-based programs so that I have less flexibility. Whereas if I just use stuff at my operating system level, then I can like use Obsidian, for my note-taking. Like that app isn't designed, for Emacs or for Arch Linux. Like it just happens to be an app that runs on Arch because Arch is a popular platform, so it will support it. And then that's it. Like I have more options, which is also kind of useful. Like in Emacs, I cut one of Firefox, so I wouldn't expect to use like it's just, yeah, I don't get why.
Going to take a little work once you get there. Again, that unified experience that you'll have under Emacs for having all things be Emacs because they all share the same interface.
But it's not true, because all things are not Emacs. All things are your operating system. That's better. You're gonna have things that would like if somehow, you manage to have everything work perfectly fine for you with just Emacs, including your browser, including your emails, and like everything, then maybe there's like an Emacs operating system that you can just like. Is that even true? Is there an Emacs operating system? Wait, is there one? I don't know. But like,
config file all written in the same programming language, which if you learn that one programming language, Emacs Lisp, you can edit all of your programs.
That's pretty cool. That kind of configurability unification is very cool. But learning config languages also isn't particularly difficult. And even though like Lisp, Lisp can be the everything language, but like the systems within that will still be different, if that makes sense. Like, first of all, config languages can only get so complicated anyway. There's a reason that Neovim uses Lua, because Lua is a very simple language, and you don't really need to use, you can use Lua for more complicated things, but you generally don't need to. Most of the things you'll be doing is just passing around like tables, right? So yeah, the benefit is that it's Emacs, I guess. So everything is Emacs, which means everything works with Emacs, which means same language, which means also like they can integrate. I think it's like, can the plugins interface well with each other as well, or is it more of the OS? Like for example, right now my taskbar is Quick Shell, but my app launcher is Rofi, right? I prefer if everything was unified, so that if I want to edit my config for my Rofi thing, my app launcher, it'd be the same as editing my config for my taskbar, which is through Qt, right? Or QML. So like there is a benefit there. But like I can do that without Emacs as well. But then like in doing that, there's a trade-off, because then I need to write my own Quick Shell stuff, right, from scratch, or like build the ecosystem there. And it's like, is that worth it? I don't know. It's like maybe that pinpoints just a bigger problem in software in general, which is that we have all these different ways of like doing configs and like I like programming languages and all this kind of thing. Whereas the world would be a lot easier. The programming world would be a lot easier to navigate if we used standardized things. So there, I can see the appeal of using Emacs to like stay in that bubble where things are specialized for Emacs. It just limits your options too much for a modern programmer workflow, I feel.
It's magical. I mean, in a lot of ways, Emacs is magic. It's the beauty of Emacs. So hopefully I did a better job answering that question than...
It's magic. It's just the worst argument of all time.
Maybe I've answered it in the past. Maybe other people have answered it. I don't. Again, it's a weird question because Vim and Emacs are so totally different. It's a strange question, and obviously that's why you get so many strange answers. Now, before I go, I need to thank a few special people. I need to thank the producers of this episode.
Emacs is what a list-based computer OS would look like. It's basically an E-list distributor with a GUI window to display your E-list programs. I agree. This is by far the best definition. I'm gonna save that comment. I really wish that fucking YouTube had saving functionality. See, like, imagine if YouTube was an Emacs, so like I could save comments just because it was a feature of Emacs or something like that. Wouldn't that be cool? Sums up Emacs for me very nicely. Emacs is a great OS, it's a good text editor. Open terminal Emacs, open Vim. You can do that. And like I have done that. So like if you want to have the equivalent, right, of how Emacs has its text editing, you would just have Neovim integrate into your OS through commands instead of having it launch the terminal. That's basically the main difference. Like right now in Emacs, I can open my file, like I can search for a file, open it, and it'll open it in its text editor, right? Same thing, just have, like, in fact, even if I open this, right? And go to my projects folder, go to, say, terminal RPG, and open main.rs. Now, my fucking thing is not going to open it properly, but like, let's say that I had it configured so that it opened Neovim, right? Or Neovim, I don't know what it's called. Not found. Great. Bro, just kill me at this point. Okay, I need to fix Dolphin because it is so broken. But like, suppose I had... Okay, I can launch it from here. How about that? I can go to, again, terminal, go to source, main, and this should open in Neovim. Okay, it opened in Emacs. That's kind of hilarious. But let's suppose I had configured instead to do it in Neovim, right? Then it wouldn't be much different from how I open files in Emacs. I like the buffer switching. Like buffers are just what, my windows, right? It would be interesting. It would be interesting to have a buffer-based operating system. So like instead of having like different desktops, you have buffers. But I'm not sure I like that workflow anyway. So yeah. Point is, I'd rather make a better OS or like configure my OS better than use Emacs and rely on Emacs. It doesn't mean that I'm like, it locks me to Arch Linux. So like that is a downside. But again, in the same way that you can run Emacs as an application, you can also emulate Arch. So what? Neovim is saying is a better answer. This person uses both, which is interesting. Oh, no, they use both. Okay. Right.
One of the most common...
I don't know if I'm going to watch this now. Finally, an excellent explanation of what Emacs is that allows me to make the educated decision of staying with Vim. And it's true. Why would you use Emacs if you don't need to? I don't understand, bro. You know, maybe they're right. Maybe it is a bad question. You know, should I use Vim or Emacs? Maybe it is a bad question. Because you shouldn't use Emacs. Okay, let's have a look at this video instead.
Honestly, I do not like Emacs.
See what I mean? Like literally the one person I know, besides that other guy, who uses Emacs, doesn't even like necessarily say that you should use Emacs. First 3 seconds, bro. This is why we love coding.
Honestly, I do not like Emacs. It is very janky and it is very hacky. I suspect this is because it's very easy to extend. You can literally just start writing Emacs Lisp, the extension language of Emacs, and define a new function, for example, hello world. Then you can say that the function has to be interactive, meaning the user can run it from the mini buffer, and then you can insert in the current cursor some sort of a message, for example, hello world. Then you can go at the end of the definition of the function and you can press Ctrl X, Ctrl E, and that evaluates this function. And now this is a command that you can call in Emacs, and it just inserts hello world. Further,
that's cool, right? So I would hope that Neovim has the same capabilities, and if it doesn't, then that would be an argument for switching to Emacs, because then we have something like for the actual text editing side. But I mean, even then, you can still do things at the operating system level. But even then, like. Neovim can't speak. Neovim is so the plugins ecosystem as well makes it so extensible that you actually probably could even get it. I mean, you could probably create a plugin for Neovim that literally lets you use eLisp, right? Like, is that a thing? Neovim with eLisp. Let me be frank. This is a terrible programming language. Oh, it is slow. Okay. With Lisp config. Yes, so you can? No? I don't even know anymore. Whatever.
furthermore,
Either way, the reason I haven't even tried to use Lisp myself is because I have like 0 use cases for it. Like, it's a cool language in theory, in terms of how powerful it can be, but it's just so not nice. Yeah.
you can actually set a key binding to this particular command. Let's say that the key binding is going to be Ctrl X WW, and when the user presses that combination of characters, just execute hello world. And now, if I press Ctrl X WW, it just executes that. It is insanely easy to extend.
But like, if Neovim in its API had a, define command with that has like an insert flag or something, like I can do that, and then it will just work. Or like a keybind set that does exist for Neovim and for Hyperland.
A lot of extensions are just basically pieces of code that you execute inside of Emacs, and you can actually call to them now. And because they are written by different people at different times without any proper communication, they start fighting for the same resources, which is the current buffer.
That was my concern. So that's why I asked, do the plugins work well with each other? Because yes, I can write a, tools for an operating system, right? That make it really good or whatever. But if I have conflicting tools, then that's a problem. And that's not really the way the operating system works is specifically designed to run different apps that you download, so that you don't have to you don't have such conflicts. But with Emacs, I just don't know if it's designed in the same way, like as well as an operating system would be.
That you see where you can input text, sometimes their assumptions about this environment break and the whole editor feels like it's going to fall apart. It is very janky, it is very hacky. But sometimes this jankiness enables very...
Sorry, is there a GNU operating system? There is one for Linux, right? This is not what I asked for. Yes. The new system. It has the Linux kernel, GNU Linux, yeah. Their distributions, yeah. But like, do they have their own? Holy redirect. Okay, so they recommend these. But like, do they have their own one? Is what I'm wondering.
Interesting synergy between different pieces of codes that were written by different people. And those people didn't even anticipate that you can even use it like that. Let's take a look at one of the extensions that Emacs is shipped with, which is called DRED. Upon seeing this extension, anybody who uses Linux or any POSIX-like operating system would not even register that this is some sort of an extension. They would say, oh, this is the output of a ls command. That's what I'm looking at. This is an output of a ls command. What's so special about this? Well, in reality, what you're looking at is a literal file manager. You can navigate, you can press in certain folders. Furthermore, you can go ahead and rename certain files. You can edit this output of a ls command. And there is something genius about making your interface look and...
Wait, can I do that here? No. No, I can't. Although there is a thing I can install for that. I'm aware. I just haven't done it. I don't know why. I mean, I don't know why I haven't done this stuff because I've been being lazy, but I should really get around to it so I can improve my workflow.
Like a ls command that you can just modify. So the developers of DRED were definitely onto something in here. This is one extension that I use daily and it is actually quite useful. I really like it, honestly. Another extension that I use, and I had to install it separately, is multiple cursors. I'm gonna leave the link to this extension in the references. And it does exactly what it says. You can select a particular piece of code, then match it, and then edit all of these places simultaneously. A lot of text editors can do that. There's nothing special about it. These two extensions, multiple cursors and DRED, were developed by different people at different times. So they never actually meant to integrate with each other, but they do.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so like that would be the nice thing about having a unified system, right? And that's why it's so interesting. Like, I feel like you could take the philosophy of Emacs, or at least that aspect of it, and apply it to like just an operating system, right? And that would be very, very interesting. Yeah, I wonder if someone could make like a Linux distro even that does that. But like the thing is, like, you're gonna reach limits at some point. Like, let's say, for example, that my entire OS was built around having insert mode and view mode, or like whatever it is, insert mode and read mode, whatever, like in Emacs and Neovim, or just Vim, right? Like here, he's inserting to do that, whatever. And then like, because of that, I could do like different keybinds and whatnot without having to worry about inputting text. Because like right now, right? Like here I am on Google. If I type like L, it's gonna like do some like random YouTube keybind, you know? Like I can't I can't enter a mode where I'm just entering keybinds. And like, it's hard to have that work with the other apps. Like imagine if like I'm playing a game, right? Like how do I avoid, like how do I make that work with the game? Or like with browsers, how do I have like browsers work with that? Because like what would happen is that it wouldn't work with browsers very well, you know, like that, like browsers are like for example, like Firefox for instance is specifically built for you to use your mouse and click, and like there are some keybinds like Control L for instance, but like that is browser specific. It's not a global keybind for my entire system, and so there's a disconnect there. Whereas if software was built in such a way to satisfy the philosophy that Vim, Emacs, etc. have with the keyboard centric thing, then it would be a lot easier to create an operating system that takes advantage of the fact, right? Is what I'm thinking. Yeah. So it'd be cool to see an operating system like that, is what I'm saying.
I can mass rename file names with multiple cursors like that. Again, neither the developers of DRED nor the developers of multiple cursors anticipated that you can mass rename files like this. It just worked.
On that note, actually, there is another funny OS-like software that we all use that isn't Emacs, and it's called the browser. Because browsers are essentially operating systems in of themselves. They just suck because they run JavaScript and I guess WebAssembly now as well, as opposed to like actual, what's the word? Hardware, not hardware. Like on the machine. Like browsers are also competing. Like the whole reason that I don't know. Like there's so much that could be done to unify apps across everything software that would make things a lot more convenient, but because of how fragmented the industry is, it's going to take a while. I think if it ever happens, it will take a while for us to reach a utopia where you can just have the unification, if that makes sense. Like just the fact that we are split between Windows, Mac, and Linux, ignoring the Linux distros as well, already means that choosing one of the operating systems is going to come with, caveats. Like if I use Linux, it's going to be hard for me to play Fortnite, for instance. Not that I play Fortnite, but just if you wanted to, or like play Roblox, right? You are recommended to play through the Android emulator because Android is Linux based, so it's easier to do it that way. Than have to do it natively, because Roblox and Fortnite are not built for Linux. Like they just do not support it. And like browsers, like the reason that it's so hard for web development to evolve is because like the reason that we use JavaScript and like the reason that Chrome can't just make its own custom script is because things are built for that JavaScript framework. They're built for JavaScript. And if Chrome does something, then suddenly you have apps that are only work for Chrome, but do not work for Firefox or Edge. Although I think Edge might be Chromium now, or something like that, or like Safari, right? Like these other browsers will just no longer work. So like right now, like it's kind of a miracle even that the web development space is even as unified as it is. Like you could very easily have a Windows, Mac, Linux situation with web dev. We just don't, because they've agreed, maybe implicitly even, that the market kind of requires that we keep compatibility and do not stray from this like shared thing, because different people use different browsers, and like that's just like a kind of like a fact of life at the moment. Opera as well is another operating system that that I believe isn't. Ooh, Opera might be Chromium actually. I'm not sure if it is or not. It is Chromium based. So Chromium is it's like the closest we have to that. But then because Firefox exists, and then there's some other ones, then. But like if at some point everything switches to Chromium, then it means that we have a monopoly, which is another issue to face, right? Monopolizing is not good. You need competition. So like there's also that side of the argument, and that creates complications, because like you can't just have things be unified, and like everything is happy go lucky if you have issues that if competitors cannot exist and therefore cannot drive innovation. But if everything was Chromium, then web development would be a lot easier to improve. But then you have like backwards compatibility stuff. So like it's just a really it's a very interesting thing. Definitely a field of research and development that I want to enter, when I'm, in my life. Like that's probably the thing I want to focus on, is unifying those things so we can make things easier. Systems, systems. But it's not easy. It'll be incredibly difficult.
Naturally. Which
to get people
makes
on board.
You think, why did it work in the first place? How it is possible for this?
With this, what you have is you have an underlying system, right, that is just set up in such a way that it happens to be quite modular. So like because my text navigation aspect of my thing is so modular, is separate from the, I don't know, like the file navigation app interface thing. But the file app interface thing uses the existing base text thing, then any extensions over the text thing will also apply to my file thing. So like I have that modularity where two different extensions which are not built for each other can still work together. And that's very cool. I'm trying to think of like any operating systems features like that. Like, I don't know, like for example, like how you could insert emoji into your browser text fields by using your operating system's emoji picker, right? Like that is like, those are two features which are not related, except for the fact that that thing happens to use your operating system's text input. If it used some like custom text input field, it wouldn't work, right? Like you could have an application that had like a custom keyboard where it processes your keyboard inputs separately. But no, like because it uses the operating system, then it has the advantage of that, right? But then it means that it relies on your operating system keyboard being good in the first place. So there are trade-offs, and it's very cool.
Two pieces of code to synergize like that. That means fundamentally, at the core level, despite all of its hackiness, despite all of its jankiness, Emacs is doing something right. But what is that? And I was thinking about it for quite some time, and I think I finally nailed it. That right thing is the buffer the pieces of code are fighting for. This buffer is the ultimate communication protocol between different applications. So here's the thing. Emacs doesn't have any way to create UI. It just doesn't. What it has, it's just buffers into which you can put text. And that's it, nothing else. So if you want to create an Emacs application that has UI, what you have to do, you have to render your UI into a text buffer.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually really interesting. And like this comes with limitations, right? It means that you can't like render text or PDFs or EPUBs or like emails as nicely as you could with a GUI. But like imagine if Emacs did support GUI, like GUI, GUI, but it just had like a standard interface for it. So then like the issue with GUI is like GUI is just so complex that it's really difficult to support modularly like you can with like text, things like this, because text is just text, right? Like maybe like different fonts and stuff, but ultimately it is just text. But GUI is so complicated that it's not so simple to have that. And I've noticed that like in the past few weeks when I was looking into it, like the reason that like for example Discord on Linux uses Electron. Why does it do that? Because if it had to, if the Discord developers had to independently, support a specific Arch Linux distro, that's like built for Hyperland or whatever, or like Wayland, whatever GUI API, then it'd be a nightmare for them because they'd have to support like 3 different things and keep them up to date with each other, for different platforms. Whereas if there was one uniform, thing that they could target, it'd be so much easier. And that's what Electron is. The downside is that Electron is slower and it takes up more space, but it allows you to make cross-platform things more easily because Electron is that standard interface, right? But then with Electron, it means that you may not, like Electron applications may not communicate well with non-Electron applications, and you're gonna have non-Electron applications. So what we need is an ecosystem. But like when you use Emacs, right? You don't expect that you could like play Fortnite in Emacs, right? In the same way that you don't expect you can play Fortnite on Linux. Like these are like you lose access to software made outside of that ecosystem. So it's a trade-off. It is a trade-off.
So the same text buffer into which you're typing.
So like we want a monolithic monopoly, right, for software, because it would actually make things so much easier and so much more flexible. But we also want to have good software, and a monopoly is not guaranteed to be good. In the same way that like a dictator for a country is not guaranteed to be the best possible dictator. You know, you want that competition so that your leaders have more motivation to actually be good, you know, like do good for the country because then they voted in, right? Likewise with software, you want there going to be competition so that you don't have these monopolies just like saying, well, you know, like we don't need to do this. Like sure, like the users want it, but like so like either way we profit because we're the only option. So like you need a benevolent monopoly kind of, and that just doesn't. It just doesn't happen naturally, and I don't know how it could happen. But like I feel like at some point it has to happen, because like it doesn't have to happen, but like if it did happen and someone managed to get it to happen, the benefits would be astronomical. Like it would genuinely be off the charts. Like imagine if Wikipedia one day woke up and had a competitor called what's a good name? Hold on. Like Wiki Library or something, whatever. Like Wikipedia woke up, there was this encyclopedia, had a new competitor called the Wiki Library, and like had a decent user base, and they were literally like similar ideas, but had like different approaches to things, or ways of doing things, and then suddenly you have competition between these two organizations, right? So now Wikipedia is no longer just like doing it for the sake of doing it. Like it also now has a competitor. And like let's say that Wikipedia's like profited from people coming to its thing. I mean it does, right? Like Wikipedia needs donations to survive. And the difference is that Wikipedia is a non-profit, I believe. But like even if like a for-profit alternative popped up and like started stealing traction, like Wikipedia, if it had like a proper competitor, would probably end up dying and losing that battle. It's just that because Wikipedia started so early and has such a massive database, right? Like such a massive coverage of topics, right? That like no one can match at the moment just because of the sheer coverage. That is what keeps it alive. And AI is a real threat to Wikipedia. Like notice how if you scroll Instagram Reels, you only start getting these Wikipedia ads and like donation like pop-ups recently because AI is that threat to Wikipedia now. Because AI can look up information and it can just regurgitate it and summarize it, right? It is that encyclopedia. That has never happened before because Wikipedia has been that monolithic entity. So it's very interesting.
Typing your code into which you're typing your text. Instead of typing the text by the user, your application has to render its UI into that buffer. And that's what we're seeing in here, and that's why UI of DRED looks like output of ls, because that's the most natural UI you can have in Emacs. But since it's a text buffer, which is not different from the text buffer where user inputs their text, any other pieces of code can read that text. So you're rendering your UI in a text buffer, so that means other applications can parse and understand your UI naturally. I can even prove to you that this is just a text buffer. You can save it. You can call command write buffer and we can say something like DRED UI.txt. So I save this as a text file. So now I have DRED-UI.txt, I open it and it looks like the UI of DRED because it uses text for its UI. I can open it in Vim. There you go. It is opened in Vim. This is Vim. I took a UI of Emacs extension, saved it to a text file, and opened it in Vim, because it's all just the text. And as already said, the most annoying part of Emacs is that it's very hacky and very janky, but maybe that's what makes it so powerful. The whole editor is just the ultimate hack. And I absolutely hate that, because if you have something good enough, but actually useful, you can never find motivation to finally get rid of that. And my recommendation for people who's looking to learn a cool customizable text editor, never try Emacs, because you won't be able to get rid of this goddamn text editor from your life, no matter how hard you try. It's too goddamn fucking useful.
There you go. So like literally he says don't use it. I mean, obviously he's probably not being entirely truthful to an extent, because he's saying that it's useful. But like the reason you wouldn't use it is because it's less because Emacs isn't good, right? Like Emacs is definitely good if you want that unified experience. It's more that we can and should do better, right? We can do better than Emacs, and if everyone just uses Emacs, we don't look for better ways to do things. By forcing yourself to not use Emacs, you look for ways to do what Emacs can without relying on it, and then you can change your operating system. So I think that's the real benefit of not using Emacs, which is interesting. Can you apply the same thinking to like Neovim? I guess so. Like you could have your operating system literally just like edit text like Neovim does everywhere. So then all Neovim is just a window that has a text buffer, and that's basically your Neovim. Like you could do that, right? Because like in some sense, like with all the extensions, Neovim itself even becomes a kind of operating system. I mean, a very primitive one, but like it basically can become your kind of terminal-based OS for code editing and anything else that you can do. Because like you can have your file directory manager in Neovim, but you know, it would probably be better if you don't, right? If you have it at your OS level, because then you can use it for other things too. So like even Neovim, like if you really like the certain features in Neovim, think about how you can extract those features and instead have them be part of your OS natively. So I don't know if there is such thing as like a Neovim OS, right? And by Neovim I mean Vim, and by Vim I mean VI, like the keybinds. That's the main thing. A keyboard-centric operating system that also supports GUI. That is what you want. But is it possible? Because like to me, Neovim is like that, or even like your terminal that runs the Neovim is like a whole operating system in of itself, and it's very, very interesting. A keyboard-centric operating system. Because like notice here, like when I have this, right, I don't want to use my mouse to navigate these. Like I do just want to type, you know, like what I want. Like if I want to open VLC, I want to just type VLC, press enter, and then it opens. Like that is the interface I want. I don't have to reach for my mouse, ever. The only time I want to use my mouse is if like I'm scrolling a web page, you know, highlighting text like this, you know, watching videos. Like I still want to have my mouse, but then can I have a mouse-centric, a GUI mouse supporting operating system that also has those strong keybinds, that keyboard-centric usage as well. So that's what I'm gonna try and do with my writing. I think. Don't smoke crack is too good. that's honestly pretty decent. That's actually a really good analogy, because crack can make your life better, but it can also, but you become dependent on it, literally. And the better thing to do would be to look for ways to have the same highs and hits that crack would give you, but through, you know, more natural ways in life that are less dependent on that one drug. That's crazy. That's actually a crazy good analogy. That's insane. How do you spell hilarious, bro? Ooh.
I got attacked on the internet when I said Messi's better than Ronaldo.
Oh yeah, that's controversial.
And so that's a very intense maximalist community there. The other one that surprised me is when I said, now I did it in jest. Okay, folks? I said Emacs is a better IDE than Vim.
I love Emacs. I agree.
Listen, I have trauma. I wake up sweating sometimes at night thinking
Emacs master race.
the Vim people are after me. They're everywhere. They're in the shadows. No, Vim is amazing, and it's actually surprised. I've recently learned that it's still even more so than before, an incredibly active community. So a lot of people wrote.
But do you use Space Max? It's just Emacs and Vim?
No, I haven't. I use Raw.
Old school Emacs?
You gotta use. Hold on a second. I've recently said, you know what? Let's make love, not war. And I went to VS Code. I went to a more modern IDE,
sure.
But because I did most of my programming in Emacs, I did most of anything as one does in Emacs, just because I also love Lisp, so I can customize everything. Sure. Then I realized like how long will Vim and Emacs be around really? I was thinking as a programmer, looking like 10, 20 years out.
This is the thing. How long will Vim?
You know, I challenge myself to learn new IDs, to learn the new tools that the majority of the community is using, so that I can understand what are the benefits and the costs. I found myself getting a little too comfortable with the tools that I grew up with. Sure. I think one of the fundamental ways of being as a programmer, as anyone involved with technology, based on how quickly it's evolving, is to keep learning new tools. Like the way of life should be constantly learning. You're not a mathematician or a physicist or any of those disciplines that are more stable. This is like everything's changing. Crypto's, like you said, a perfect example of that. You have to constantly update your understanding of digital finance constantly in order to be able to function, in order to be able to criticize it, in order to be able to know what to invest in. So yeah, that was why I did. I tried PyCharm a bunch, the whole JetBrains infrastructure, and then also VS Code because that's really popular. And Atom and Sublime, all of those. I've been exploring. VS Code is amazing.
You should check out Space Max. I'm just gonna give one more pitch for it. It's just basically like a customizable configuration. Well, Emacs is already customizable, but it's pretty useful. I'm not even much of a coder, but for like certain journaling applications or like time management, like I find it really useful. So, but anyway, we're so like I feel like half this podcast is what it should have been, and half of it's just us nerding out about our own engineering like idiosyncrasies. Sorry guys.
Yeah, so there's arguments of, well, I mean, it's what I already said, like, right? You don't become dependent on your tooling. Then again, there are some things that are worth becoming dependent on. And I think it's not becoming dependent on the software itself, because software can die. Software should die, even, because it should get replaced by better software. It's more the philosophies. It's the philosophies that you want to depend on, not the specific software. Like with Emacs, yes, you can learn Emacs, but the keybinds are specific to Emacs, right? And they're not necessarily that good anyway. What you want is to learn the Emacs philosophy and apply it to something else. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to apply it to I'm going to try to apply it to my operating system instead. With Neovim, I don't love Neovim because it's the Neovim app. I love Neovim because of the philosophy of having keyboard-centric programming, right? With the keybinds. It's mainly the keybinds that I want. LSP config, all that kind of stuff, whatever. Like that's just configuring the application. What I want is the keyboard-centric, the workflow. Right? And that is a philosophy I can again apply outside of Vim. I can apply it to Emacs, of course, but I can also apply it to other software. I could even have it at an operating system-wide level. And that would be awesome. Operating system-wide level, yeah. VS Code, though, VS Code is also not going to stay around for longer. But what are the philosophies of VS Code? Like when you actually... I feel like it's useful to that too, because you look past the software and look more at what it represents, and then you realize, hold on, VS Code kind of sucks. Like there really aren't that many benefits of VS Code. Yes, it's a nice GUI. Yes, it exists. Yes, it's stable. I guess updated or whatever. It's good software. It's fairly fast to open. If I go to right now and type in VS Code, 1, 2, it opens fairly quickly. And then it has all these different all these useful widgets, right? And it's okay. So maybe a philosophy there is having the buttons. The buttons are really cool. Having a build button is awesome. Having a Git UI is fairly useful. But just to Git add, Git commit, Git push. Those are useful things to have buttons for, right? That's a good philosophy. But for the other things, I don't care about VS Code. At that point, I all I need is an editor that has Vim keybinds and has buttons, and so I will find a way to have that instead of just relying on VS Code, relying on Vim, relying on Emacs. Now, the reason I'm going to use Neovim is because I feel like Neovim right now, in the existing user space, is the most suitable or the most flexible in that respect, right? So I can have Neovim and I can configure it around my OS in that way, if that makes sense. Because it's just a terminal window ultimately. It's literally just a terminal window with text editing. That's why I want to use it. It's so simple. And the plugin ecosystem makes it easy to build up. that it's a pretty suitable tool for what I want to do. Otherwise, I would not use Vim. Like maybe I'd use Emacs, and instead use that and I configure that, whatever. But Emacs is contained, so it's not really a good fit. VS Code is obviously Electron or whatever, so that wouldn't work anyway. But because Vim is just a terminal window and Arch Linux is, well, Linux in general is very built around the terminal, then it works very well to use that as my starting point. That's why I'm using it. Not because I'm crazy about Neovim or I'm crazy about, or like I hate Emacs. It's because I like the Vim keybinds. In Emacs, I use the Vim keybinds. I don't care about the other Emacs stuff. That's why I don't use Emacs. I care about the philosophies of Emacs, and maybe there's some useful ideas there that I can apply outside of Emacs. That's what I'm getting at there. So like when you look at Emacs versus Vim versus VS Code, it's all a question of which editor has what I want. It's more which editor has the capabilities of what I want to implement. And of course, like that's a very different way of approaching it. Like I'm a developer, right? So I want to develop my software to fit my needs. That's what I want to do. Whereas someone who just wants to, I don't know, just like download something and use it, then, like for them, it's a lot more black and white. Like, okay, I have Emacs, I have Vim, I have VS Code, I want to install it and just use it, right? Probably like some like prepackaged bundle. And therefore, yeah, like VS Code makes sense for you because you don't want to, faff about with configuring all these things. You want other people to configure it for you. But if you are a software engineer who, like loves programming, then I think you're more likely to want to do this anyway, to actually develop it, configure stuff. But like that's the perspective that matters. Like literally this comment, it doesn't matter what editor you use, they're all great as long as they support Vim key bindings. It is that point of Vim key bindings, that's what you want from Vim, right? VS Code with the Vim keybinds is pretty cool because you have the LSP built in, you have all these plugins, you have the GUI, so you can like click and point whatever you want to do. The only reason I don't like it is because, well, first of all, it's slow. That's another issue in and of itself. But also, the Vim keybinds aren't integrated as well. It's more of an afterthought and an extension than like really integrated well. That's why I don't like it, right? I get better Vim keybind support from Vim, which is why I like using Vim, because that's so integral to it. But yeah, that's actually crazy how that's the first comment. When VS Code dies, Vim may also be around. Anytime something modern ventures do what they do better than them, while being a lot more convenient. And at that point, they will be transferable skills. Like the amount of time you spend learning, like, I don't know, how to customize your VS Code configurations or whatever, or even your Vim config with like Lua and whatnot. Like, yes, it's good. I mean, even the reason that a Vim config with Lua is good is because it uses Vim. It uses Lua, and Lua is a language that you can use for other things. So like that is a transferable skill, as are Vim key bindings. Visual Studio Code's configuration is just so specific and so annoying as well. Like, it's not really useful unless if you switch to a different editor, which is a reason to not rely on that as well. Like, it's cool to rely on things that at least are transferable skills, which is another reason why I don't like using VS Code. So like the argument that VS Code, I don't know how, like in this video, he says that he uses VS Code seemingly because he doesn't know how long Vim and Emacs will be around for. Vim and Emacs will outlive VS Code. And the only way that Vim and Emacs get replaced is if, again, something does like this guy says, something does their jobs better. Hell, Vim has been replaced by Neovim, literally. So have a look at that. And, what is one of the most significant changes that Neovim made to Vim? It's literally probably the biggest change that Neovim made to Vim was it changed the config language from Vim scripts to Lua. Because then it changes that Vim script, which is, specific to Vim, to Lua, which is a transferable skill. So like already it's improved in a significant way. Alright, this is the last video.
Having been using Emacs,
or not, because it's the same guy, this was 6 years ago. Let's look at the comments. Vim is a text editor, Emacs has a text editor. I've heard it described as Vim, my OS is my development environment, Emacs, my development environment is my OS. That doesn't make sense to me. Right, that's Vim versus Emacs sorted. What's next, Derek? Being a piece in the Middle East. I just use Emacs for Tetris. Okay. Yeah, I feel like I've said everything I want to say about this. So, moral of the story, and I think I'm gonna write a blog post about this, but moral of the story, or my takeaway is I will not be using Emacs. I will be uninstalling Emacs because I have no reason to use it. I mean, like, I might look into org mode a bit, but like, I don't even know. Yeah, like I might look into org mode and like watch a few videos on why org mode is cool, and see how that is like. But like that will not make me use Emacs. It will just make me look into org mode alternatives probably, or like a way to use like that org format externally. So that might be interesting. But otherwise, I have no reason to use Emacs. I'll just keep using Neovim, and it's about time I actually configure it. So that's what I'll be doing. And yeah, end of story really. What I need from Neovim is my LSP. I need a debugger, preferably with TUI, which can be done, but like really like integrated into the actual application. I do want that in the same way that you can with like VS Code. It's one reason I switched to VS Code from Neovim like a few weeks ago, and then to Emacs, and now back to Vim. File directory thing would be nice, but really I also need to set up things on my operating system, like have like a command that lets me open my apps and open Neovim directly with that project opened. That's what I need. These are the things I need. So yeah, look forward to that coming up. Yeah, so these next few videos will probably just be me doing that, because like I want to have, although there have been projects I want to work on over the summer. First of all, it's hard to work on them if I don't have my things set up, but also because I want to get these configurations set up before I start uni again in about 6 weeks. Because once uni starts, God knows I probably will not dedicate anywhere near as much time to this kind of stuff. Yeah. Bro, is somebody in a cupboard? Anyway, subscribe.